Let's do it. I want to get to this first one. This was Charles from Fort Worth, Texas. Charles actually called in a few weeks ago. I don't know if you guys remember this. Maybe this was a few weeks ago. Asking us about the goddess of Columbia. And Charles, why don't you take it from here, man? How's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Going good, dude. What's up?
Not much. Where do you want me to start?
Kind of backtrack for us again, like what this conversation was about, and maybe what you've since discovered from then.
Okay, I'll start from the beginning. I was looking at some poetry through Phyllis Wheatley. She was a slave back in the Revolutionary War, and she wrote some poetry about the goddess of Columbia. And what I found is, I don't know if she created the goddess of Columbia or it was the founding fathers, but she wrote the poetry that made, kind of make her like pop out there and people know who she was. Because Benjamin Franklin was in the occult, and Thomas Jefferson, George Mason, James Madison, they were all into the pagan rituals and symbolism and stuff like that. So they kind of came up with
okay, that's interesting.
Of Columbia as well.
I don't know if I want. That's a whole other rabbit hole we could jump down, talking about whether those guys are really into the occult. But really, I want to get to like, okay, so why does this figure in this kind of poetry interest you, and why do you believe like this is talking about something like in reality? Like you do, like I think from what I gleaned last time when we had this conversation, you believe that there is a kind of Columbia goddess out there.
There's symbolisms of her all over the United States.
Okay.
Can you describe this goddess? I mean, I don't really know. I don't know what to picture. I mean, my cat's name is Columbia, and she's a goddess, but I don't think you mean her. So,
you got Freya and Isis and all them. It's more like she's more like a symbolism, like she's the personification of what America is.
Okay, but she's
liberty.
Do you actually believe that Columbia exists as a being?
Yeah, I was about to ask that.
What she exists is as a symbol.
Okay, because last time we were talking about this, I was getting the impression that you thought of Columbia as a being, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
But the one cool thing about the argument that you can have with somebody is, okay, like America was founded, by the founding fathers. After the Revolutionary War, they made the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and all that good stuff. And a lot of people want to say, oh, well, it was founded on Christianity. Well, if you think about it, if they came up with the goddess of Columbia, and they went off of Christopher Columbus and kind of made a female version for them. And they got the idea off of a Greek and Roman goddess called Liberta. So they got all these capitalist ideas, basically from some old Greek and Roman ideas. I know. So if you really think about it, were we founded on Christianity or were we founded on paganism? So those are a lot of pagan symbols.
I mean, there's definitely an argument to be had about.
It's a good argument.
There's an argument to be had about, I think, the United States being founded on, like Greek principles and stuff. Like Greek values and stuff like that. Obviously, you see a lot of Greek architecture and Roman architecture, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, and she's the Statue of Liberty. If you look at Columbia pictures. Okay, in D.C., what does D.C. stand for? District of Columbia. I mean, she's everywhere. Okay, and when you go to the courthouse and you see the blind lady with the scale and the sword, that's Columbia.
But maybe we should tackle this because
she's everywhere.
I definitely see the symbolism. I definitely think there's a history of that. You can definitely prove that. But like as far as like the people who were making these objects and were kind of inspired by these old ideas, whether they actually believed there was a Columbia figure.
And you know what? Another thing is they were all tied to the Masons, the Freemasons.
Okay, well, we need to keep on one track here because we can go all over the place. But
I can't tell you too much about the Freemasons because that kind of like comes you into a wall because you don't know anything about the Freemasons unless you're a Freemason.
Well,
the deep dark secrets of
yeah.
what they do.
Supposedly, yes.
See, that sounds like
I'm not
something
faith, I'm just
sort of
regular
like an
faith.
Illuminati kind of thing here now.
What's that?
This is sounding very Illuminati-esque, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's some symbolism there. I mean, but it's more Freemason than Illuminati, because that's like a whole another group.
Man.
A lot of people think they're the same group, but it's like, no, that's two different groups.
Okay, so
I just mean there's a vibe. That's all I'm talking about.
Okay, so just to back things up, you don't actually believe there is a Columbia, but you believe that older figures of history were kind of inspired by ancient symbols and writings possibly and things to kind of put these kind of, I guess you would call it pagan symbols in America.
Yeah, and you know what? She was actually on the money. She was on our currency till 1956, and then she was taken off the bills, and then that's when they put the "In God We Trust," because of Russia had the communist thing going on, and they were the anti-God, and so we had to have the God thing going on with our money. So that's when they took her off the money on the bills, and in where is it? She was and Reagan took her off the coins in 1980s. She was called the Stand-in Liberty, and she was on some of the coins that we had.
Huh. So do you think
silver dollar bill?
Yeah, go for it.
I think my question has to be, what did they think they were going to get out of this? I mean, if it's not a literal deity, then are they worshiping something? Is it just a set of principles with a symbol attached to them? I mean, what exactly is this? Is it a religion, a cult? Is it just a bunch of people who got together and said, hey, let's have a club? I mean, what is it?
No, it's just the founding fathers looked at like, okay, like all these other people have a god, and the great Greeks and the Romans had a goddess, and so they were like, why can't we have a goddess? So they made their own goddess up.
Okay, but they made it up. So what exactly? I mean, how strongly did they hold this belief?
But even though they made her up, even now it's what she symbolizes. She symbolizes patriotism. She symbolizes America. She symbolizes liberty, freedom, everything that we cherish in the Constitution. She is that symbol.
So just a symbol, then. I mean, okay, I can imagine being dogmatic about certain values, but it still
she's the red, white, and blue.
Okay. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, is this something that if you were a Colombian knight or whatever the heck, was that enforced in some fashion? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out exactly how this works.
No, it is it's just more patriotic, It's just like it's for specifically like me. I'm a pagan, so it's like all right. So we got a goddess. A pagan goddess that's actually our goddess, like I don't have to like say, hey, your goddess over there is pretty badass, but you know what? I got Columbia over here, the patriotic goddess.
And so,
okay. I mean, honestly, if I were to come up with an analogy here, it almost sounds like the Pastafarians, where they go, okay, now we have the flying spaghetti monster, which basically represents not actually believing in a religion. And I mean, it sounds like it's just sort of, taken a little more seriously, but still just sort of something they came up with for fun.
Mm-hmm.
She's a symbol all over the United States. She's on the state capitol. She's Statue of Liberty.
Right, but that doesn't. But we're just saying that doesn't make her real, right? That's kind of the difference. Oh, don't know what the camera is doing here. Oh yeah, that's right. There we go. Yeah, thank you for giving context to this guy.
But you can look at the American flag like, okay, it's just a flag to some people, but to us, it's more than a flag. It's a symbol.
It is a symbol.
Well, some people take that symbol way the heck too seriously. I mean, I remember some people completely lost it when someone else flew the flag upside down. They thought it was some sort of like anti-patriotic thing, when actually technically flying the flag upside down is a sign of distress. And they were trying to say, well, this country has issues with it. But I mean, people flip out. Like, I've heard people say that you have to destroy a flag that's touched the ground. I've heard people act like burning a flag is an act of
no, I'm not down with that. Like,
or whatever. So I mean, sometimes people look at those symbols and they take them way the heck too seriously, when honestly they don't mean as much as they think they do.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I was in the Boy Scouts, we had our own flag burning ceremonies, and I say flag burning because, well, it was actually a flag retirement ceremony. What happened was we'd taken a bunch of flags that were kind of donated, that were raggedy or kind of out of use, and we actually had to have a proper kind of ceremony to properly dispose of the flags. And that's kind of interesting because I don't think people really know that, like, oh, yes, there is an appropriate time to burn those flags, but only if it's within a specific circumstance, which is kind of cool. And it kind of also brings us this idea of, wow, if somebody were to look at this out of context and see, oh, these people are burning flags, people, you know, this is awful. This is terrible. Like, why are these people doing this? This is something against our country and stuff. But it's like, no, actually, this is the guided practice. Like, this is what you're supposed to do with these things. So it's interesting that we come up with these rituals for these symbols, for these kind of abstract ideas, and they can seem very powerful to us in a way. And it sounds to me, Charles, that this is what Columbia kind of is to you. Columbia is kind of this powerful symbol by which you kind of draw a mythos from.
Yeah, like she's more like an inspiration than anything. Because I'm just like, I mean, I just think it's like really, really cool, and that it's a part of history that is sad that it's not really well known, and I'm kind of glad I've kind of stumbled on her story, and now it's like when I look everywhere, I can be like, oh, there she is, there she is,
I think the one point of contention I might have
I think it's cool as hell. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's cool too that you found something you're inspired by and it kind of motivates you, and it's really cool. I think the one thing I'd be interested in is, are all these people really influenced by Columbia in particular, or maybe they're kind of espousing these values kind of separately, and it just so happens that a lot of these values are kind of related to this specific goddess. Like, I don't know, you could be really into wrestling or something, or into like boxing or something, and you could take a lot of these symbols from, I don't know, the god of war or something, but like that doesn't necessarily mean that you actually worshipped the god of war or anything like that. I guess Mars is the Roman name. I can't even think of I'm so tired today, guys. I can't even think of the actual name, but you get what I'm trying to say here, I think, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, and also just from you saying like, oh, there she is. It sounds like spotting Easter eggs in movies and video games and stuff. I mean, like there's this one little one that I actually really think is awesome. Is there's a license plate that is in so many movies. It's 2GAT123. It's like the 555 phone number of license plates. If you know about that, you will see it everywhere, just the way you were talking about seeing Columbia everywhere. So, I mean, it sounds like an Easter egg, a political Easter egg.
Yeah, and there's no Illuminati that's making that happen either, right? It's just a bunch of people that are kind of in on the joke.
No, it's based off the something that founding fathers and a great poet, Phyllis Whitney, came up with.
Mm-hmm. I was talking about BionicDance's comment, not necessarily your thing, but yeah, I mean that one day, Charles, you'll have to like really dive deep with us. Maybe if you call in again sometime, we'll talk about the Illuminati and the Freemasons next time, because that's something we have not.
I tried digging into that, but I always find myself into a brick wall. It's like, man, I was like, I wonder what they know or what they're teaching or something, because
or if they're real. I mean, at least with the Illuminati,
they're always like, you got to become one. I'm like, I don't want to become one.
So okay, I don't know if you've seen this. Have you seen this, Kate? There's a thing on Instagram where people get messages saying like, "Hey, I'm from the Illuminati. Come join our thing."
Have you got one? I got one.
My girlfriend got a message with one of those, which was kind of interesting. I think they're just kind of messing around. I don't think it's actually the Illuminati contacting people on Insta.
I told one guy, he's like, oh, you're a pagan. He goes, and you're a witch. He goes, if you join us, we'll teach you all the secrets. I was like, I want to keep my soul a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's like, I think if you're a part of the Illuminati, you'd find a more subtle way than Instagram messages, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just
Well,
me.
he found me on Facebook. He was just like,
Oh, yeah.
he's like, you're a pagan, and he was all getting into my own paganism. I said, I like to kind of do my own thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, Charles, this was an interesting call. Thanks again for calling to talk to us about this. And yeah, next time, Illuminati. Let's go there. Let's do it.
Man, let me see what I can dig up on them.
All right. I love it. Thanks again, Charles. Yeah.